From mountains to caves, all the way to locations that no human has ever been before, this list is full of incredible places right here on Earth. Let's waste no time and dive right into the top 10 unbelievable places on Earth you won't believe really exist. What do you think is the most fascinating place here on our planet? Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Tsingy National Park. Tsingy National Park is located on the western edge of Madagascar, but today I want to talk about the two large geographical features in the park, which are Big Tsingy and Little Tsingy. Tsingy can be translated into English as roughly where one cannot walk barefoot, and when you see this place, you'll realize this name makes a lot of sense. These rock formations are plateaus that have had deep ruts cut into them by groundwater, which has left them totally unable to be walked on or through. This whole area is incredibly fascinating and is the home to many endemic species because of its unusual geomorphology. Some of these species are found only within extremely small areas within the Tsingys because the summit, slope, and base of one limestone needle will all form entirely different ecosystems, which is truly just unbelievable. The Tsingys are a perfect example of what happens when humans just leave a place alone and let nature and the earth just exist. It would be an amazing place to go and explore, but because of the nature of the limestone needles, we just can't. And that truly is probably for the best. In our number 9 spot today, we have Lake Vostok. Before I dive into this one, guys, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you're enjoying the video. It really helps us out, and I appreciate it. Many of us have heard of Atlantis, but have you heard of Lake Vostok? Okay, there's probably no underwater city, so maybe that was an exaggeration, but it's still really cool. This lake is located in Antarctica, and it is so huge, it's one of the largest lakes in the entire world. The lake not only has a large surface area, but it's also really deep, which only adds to the volume of the lake. So here's the thing about it though. It is covered by ice, and not just any ice, but by the East Antarctic ice sheet, which is just the largest ice sheet in the world. This subglacial lake has ice so thick that we don't know a lot about what lies beneath it, and the ice has been there for millions of years. When the first samples of the actual lake water were taken, it did become very apparent that there may be many species in the lake that we know absolutely nothing about. This is like the most lakey lake out there, and it could be hiding who knows how many secrets. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Star Mountains of Papua New Guinea. This massive mountain range is located in Papua New Guinea, and although we of course know about it, much of the area remains completely untouched by humans. This area is thought to be one of the wettest places on the earth, as it sees more than 10,000 millimeters of rain every year. At that point, you wonder why they're still measuring in millimeters, but hey, I'm not a weatherman. Due to the rain and just how torrential the downpour is, there isn't a spot in the entire range that can house a weather station. There was an attempt made to explore the range in 1959 by a man named Jan Sneap, who wanted to try and map out the area, and it was slightly successful, but not without struggle. During the expedition, they had 2 helicopters, but due to the altitudes, one of them ended up crashing, and they were forced to rely on their own manpower from then on. While this of course would suggest that humans have at some point visited the mountain range, as I previously mentioned, there are most definitely areas that remain unvisited by humans, and it's probably for the best if we just leave it that way. In our number 7 spot today, we have Death Road. North Youngest Road has the nickname Death Road, and honestly, when you just look at it, you can totally understand why. This 69-kilometer road is full of hairpin turns, and of course, it's on the side of a mountain. Not to mention the fog, landslides, and the waterfalls. It was so dangerous that until 1994, there were at least 300 drivers a year who were getting killed on this road. This road connects the Amazon rainforest to the capital city, so it was happening often that salespeople would cram into trucks or buses filled with their woods and crops in order to try and sell them. The issue, however, was that the sharp turns were not wide enough for these larger vehicles, which would, of course, lead to them falling off the edge of the cliff, which was always fatal. There have certainly been steps taken to make the road slightly more safe for tourists, but it still remains one of the most dangerous places in the world. It is such a shame though, because it looks absolutely beautiful. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Sakha Republic. Russia is the largest country in the world, but there is an area in it called the Sakha Republic, which is the 8th largest territory in the world, and it remains mostly untouched by humans. Like, this area is so large, it's only slightly smaller than India. The majority of this territory is above the Arctic Circle, making it basically like a desert, except for exactly the opposite. It's the freezing cold kind. There is so little of a population in this area that if all the residents were spread out, there would be more than a square mile in between each person. But here's the thing, you can't really live in most of this region. I mean, you can, but not without extreme difficulty. The ground is covered by permafrost, which of course has a huge impact on the ecology of the region. The Verkhoyansk range is located within this region, and that range is known as the coldest area in the northern hemisphere. Because of the extreme weather, much of the region has gone unexplored and untouched by man. And honestly, I can completely understand why. Would you want to go there? In our number 5 spot today, we have the Siwa Oasis. Siwa is an urban oasis between the Qattara Depression and the Great Sand Sea in the Western Desert. This oasis is one of Egypt's most isolated settlements, but it is the home to around 33,000 people. The residents have developed a unique and isolated desert culture and language called Siwi, but they are also fluent in the Egyptian dialect of Arabic. The oasis isn't necessarily a super popular tourist destination, as the closest city is Cairo, and the oasis is around a 5-hour bus ride away and is of course in the middle of the desert, but those who do take the trip certainly aren't disappointed. If visiting, you can enjoy some locally grown dates and olives, which I can only imagine are incredible. You can swim in Cleopatra's Bath, which is a mineral spring, and you can even stay at the Desert Eco Lodge, which is built from mud and salt. Tourism is actually a vital source of income for the oasis, so visitors are welcomed. Because of how isolated Siwa is, the culture and the traditions of the people who live here really have been preserved, which would make it such an interesting and wonderful place to visit. If I ever get the incredible opportunity of going to Egypt, I think Siwa would be on the top of my list for places to visit. In our number 4 spot today, we have Ittoqqortoormiit. This town is located in one of the most remote areas of Greenland and actually requires a helicopter ride from the nearest airport in order to actually get to the town. Its modern discovery came quite recently, actually, in 1925 by a Danish polar explorer and around 80 Inuit settlers, and it is about as far as you can get from any other inhabited area in Greenland. Despite this recent settling, based on ruins and other archaeological remains, it became clear that this area was once inhabited sometime in our history by Inuit populations of the past. There's around 450 residents now, and the town is known for its wildlife that includes polar bears, musk oxen, and seals. This place can be a popular tourist destination because of the stunning northern lights as well as all of the other natural wonders. Cruise ships also love to stop here, but that can be a little tricky considering 9 months out of the year sea ice will block any ship from docking. In our number 3 spot today, we have Cape Melville. Cape Melville is located in Australia, and it is the home to one of the lost worlds here on Earth. It truly wasn't discovered until recently, and that is due to the surrounding wall of granite boulders that are hundreds of feet tall. But inside this stone wall is an amazing, mysterious, and uncharted rainforest, which is just the coolest thing. Because of the more recent discovery and the lack of exploration, this area has been preserved in its natural state, which is something that's not easily found on our super populated planet. This place is only accessible by helicopter and has only seen one major scientific exploration, but on this one adventure, at least 3 new species were found. I'm sure there will be further research of the area to learn about all of the endemic species that live here and to study how they evolved to fit in this interesting ecosystem. The Earth really is just so cool. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Doong Cave. This cave is located in Vietnam, and it is the largest cave in the world. The name means the river mountain cave, and it was created somewhere between 2 to 5 million years ago from river water eroding away the limestone. In some areas of the cave, the ceiling collapsed, which has created these insanely cool skylights. These areas have allowed many plants and trees to grow, and it has definitely increased the vegetation in a cave. The cave is around 9 kilometers long, and it is the home to the tallest known stalagmites in the world, with these mineral deposits getting up to around 70 meters tall. There was a plan to install a cable car through the cave to create a tourist attraction, but thankfully those plans were cancelled due to the potential harm that it would cause the environment, which I personally think most of us can agree was for the best. In our number 1 spot today, we have Mount Bosavi. This mountain is located in the southern highlands province of Papua New Guinea, but it is actually the collapsed cone of an extinct volcano. I didn't know that volcanoes could be extinct. This volcano actually collapsed to create a crater that is around 4 kilometers wide and 1 kilometer deep. There isn't a ton that is known about this area, but in 2009 an international team of scientists went down there on an expedition that was entirely filmed by the BBC Natural History Unit. It is believed that this crater was created around 200,000 years ago, and during the crew's time researching the area, there were 40 new species that were uncovered as the crater has its very own fascinating isolated ecosystem. Who knows what more may be down there just waiting for us to uncover. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thanks so much for checking it out. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozlowski. I'll see you next time.